Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the part one of the 2022 Training Tuesday webinar series. The Almond Board of California is bringing the series back after the participation and interaction we saw last year. So thank you for participating and showing interest, and thank you for being here today. We will change things up a little bit this year with the Training Tuesday cadence, as we'll be doing 2 Training Tuesdays a month on the first and third Tuesdays of every month. And this year, we will be alternating in issues from the Global Technical and Regulatory Affairs team, who will be talking about topics that are currently impacting the industry. The first GTRA topic will be March 1st. That'll be the part 2 of the 2022 Training Tuesday. Again, that is March 1st. Well, they'll be addressing some of the hot topics in the industry, of course, the shipping disruptions, and also the Decree 248 that went into effect for the Chinese market at the beginning of the new year. But before we get to shipping and selling almonds, we do have to have a successful bloom, which is what we're talking about today. We do have a great lineup with our very own Dr. Josette Lewis. She will be the moderator. Before I turn it over to Josette, a little housekeeping. Everyone is muted for this webinar. We will hopefully have time for questions and answers at the end. We will have people the availability to be unmuted to ask questions at the end. But for flow purposes, we do encourage people to type their questions into the chat, which we will be able to monitor and read at the end of the webinar. And for the continuing education units, at the very end of the slides, we will have a link and QR code where people can click and go to a Microsoft Forms page and fill out the test to complete the continuing education units. So without further ado, I will now turn it over to Dr. Josette Lewis. Take it away.
Thanks, Taylor, and welcome back, folks, to Training Tuesdays. It's a great pleasure each year to kick this off with training around the legal requirements and best management practices for bee health during bloom. So we're really excited today to focus particularly on the use of Beeware, which is a software tool that the Almond Board, together with a number of great organizations here in California, fund for the purpose of making it easier for growers, pesticide applicators, and beekeepers to meet their legal requirements for advanced informed notification. So today I'll kick it off with a little bit of a high-level overview of the honeybee BMPs for almonds. And then we'll turn it over to Bill Griffin, who's the Deputy Ag Commissioner from Madera County, and he will go into detail about the use of Beeware. And again, this is an important tool, so we really want to leave you with some very practical understanding of how to use it. It's not that complicated, but we'll walk through step by step. And then following Bill, we have Jen Dickey, who is with CR Orchards, and she will also share her perspective and experience using the Beeware software as an applicator. And then to round it out, we have Brian Ashert from Ashert Bees, who will also talk about the importance of advanced notification and the use of Beeware from the beekeeper standpoint. So you'll get to hear how to use this software and why it's of value to all aspects of all the different partners involved in keeping bees safe while they're in our orchard. As Taylor mentioned, we'll finish up with the quiz so you can get your continuing education credits, and then a preview of the next Training Tuesday. So with that, I will kick it off myself. Okay, so Microsoft Teams. For those of you who haven't used this platform before, there is a set of icons that you can use to manage your interface with the software. So you should all be muted. So make sure that the microphone looks like over here. It has the mute, and you probably want to turn your video off. You will also see that there is a chat function shown right here, a little box that looks like a quotation. And that is where you can, if you click on that, you will get this sidebar that appears, and you can type in any questions that you might have in the chat right here. And that will be the most efficient way for us to deal with a large number of people on the call. Okay. And I'm having, oh, here we go. Just clicking through. There's the chat function. And type it in there. You can also raise your hand if you do want to ask a question verbally. Um, there is an electronic way to raise your hand, which is shown right here. But I think the best thing is to put them in the chat. All right. So thanks to the good work of the California State Beekeepers Association, we have one DPR credit for laws and regs, and you must remain on the webinar for the entire session and then score 70% or higher on the exam at the end of the session. All right, so I went through the agenda there, and we'll just dive right in. All right, well, we're already well into bloom. We have what I think some people are calling a flash bloom this year. It's very windy up where I am in the Sacramento Valley, so hopefully some of those blossoms are already been pollinated and they're sticking on the tree. I want to start out with why it's really important that we pay attention to keeping those honeybees safe while they're in our orchards. The first is that pollination is a substantial cost of growing almonds these days. We saw a rapid increase in the price of pollination services over the last dozen or so years, to the point where now it's 15% or higher of the annual cost of production. So a grower really wants to protect that investment and get the best out of those bees while they're in the orchard by keeping them safe. We play an equal role in that with the beekeepers. We have seen high rates of bee die-off, mostly due to things like varroa mites, excuse me, but also loss of natural forage on the landscape that can sustain these bees after they leave our orchards. And that high bee die-off rate, for which pesticides can be a contributing factor, means that it costs more for beekeepers to keep their hives in shape and at a level of healthy numbers of bees to deliver to our orchards each year. So it's in the interest of all parties, and particularly the almond grower, to keep those bees safe, because they're going to come back next year and you don't want to see those costs continue to rise. It's also worth noting that as an industry, because we are the largest managed pollination event in the world each spring, we get a lot of attention about bees. And some of it isn't warranted, it's not fair, but it does affect our reputation. This was an article that came out a couple of years ago in an international newspaper, and doesn't help us with our marketing of almonds internationally. So doing our best to keep those bees safe is good for protecting your investment in pollination services, as well as helping us continue to build a stellar reputation for almonds as not only a tasty treat, but also known for the stewardship in the way that we grow almonds. So hopefully many of you are familiar, because we do this training every year, in the honeybee best management practices for almonds. This was developed over many years of research, consultation with beekeepers, growers, pesticide applicators, and regulators at the state and federal levels. So a lot of practical input, as well as the best science, went into developing these best management practices. A fundamental component of maintaining bee health while they're in our orchards is communication. Communication between the beekeeper and the grower. We always recommend starting out with a good contract that you've signed in the fall or the early winter that sets the stage for good communication between you and the beekeeper. When those bees arrive, making sure that you've communicated where they should be placed, who's going to be providing clean water to the bees. That communication is really central to making sure that those bees are effective in your orchard and also safe. And that extends to anyone that a grower might hire, like a PCA or a pesticide applicator. So today we'll really focus on that aspect of communication and the important role of the Beware software. But I also just wanted to remind folks of how important it is to be careful as we protect that crop during bloom, that we're also protecting the bees. As many of you know, if you need to apply a fungicide during this time of year while the bees are present in the orchard, it's important to apply that pesticide in the early evening or at night. That way you won't directly impact the bees. You won't accidentally get fungicide on the bees, direct exposure. And it also gives that fungicide time to dry on the blossoms and the tree before the bees come out in the morning. So applying a fungicide at night is an essential part of those bee BMPs. Research also shows that tank mixing can be more lethal than the individual components. So you can see here in this research that the mixing of an insecticide and a fungicide can cause increased lethality over the individual chemicals alone. So in this case, this is not particularly lethal to bees, but when done in combination can be more lethal. So we highly recommend you don't do tank mixing. Um, and then more research has shown that adjuvants in and of themselves can also be harmful to bees. So unless called for on the label, please don't add an adjuvant. Back to tank mixing, it's also important to recognize that this time of year, there's not likely to be other insects present in the orchard besides the honeybees. So insecticides are not recommended during bloom. And that's a recommendation we've been making now since we released the BBMPs. And you can see here really a great trend to see in the industry that those insecticides, the sort of dormant insecticide sprays and in the early bloom times are no longer a significant practice in the industry. So you shouldn't need to do a tank mix because you shouldn't need to apply an insecticide. A fungicide alone is typically all that's warranted. And if you apply that at night, you can keep those bees safe. And again, don't add adjuvants unless called for on the label. So that's a really high level overview. And I'm going to then turn it over to Bill Griffin to walk us through the laws and regulations that apply to this. So you'll just need to make sure you unmute yourself, Bill, and I'll move your slides.
There we go. Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bill Griffin. I'm with the Madera County Ag Commissioner's Office. I'm the pesticide deputy for our office. Thank you for inviting me to present this morning. And we're going to go through the Beware program. I'm not necessarily going to talk about how to do the actual individual steps of registering and using Beware, but we're going to talk about the importance of Beware and what it can and what it cannot do. And so everyone has a good, clear picture of what Beware is for, the protections that are built into Beware, and so we can help protect the bees and allow people to, communicate in an effective way to avoid, accidental spraying and that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and next slide. And this should be a short video if you want to go ahead and click that and let that play. I don't know if you have a volume control. Yeah, it doesn't sound like the volume is coming through or I'm not hearing it.
Yeah, it looks like we don't have audio on this, Bill, so you can just go ahead and talk through it.
Yeah, basically what they're showing here is the importance of, beekeepers, the ability to pin your bees on an electronic format so that we have a way that people can access, whether it's the ag commissioner, applicators, or PCAs, use as a tool to help protect bees. Every user of the program has their own protections. Not everybody can see everything, and that there's reasons for that, and we'll get to that in just a couple slides. So if you want to go ahead and just pop to the next one, and we'll go from there. Here we go. Okay. So what is Beware? Well, essentially it was a very simple idea to further facilitate communication between beekeepers, applicators. It also helps with not just beekeepers and applicators, but also the ag commissioner and the pest control advisors. Using modern technology. If everybody probably, if you've been in the bee business for any length of time, you remember back in not that long ago where every ag commissioner had a bee map. We would have a map up on the wall with pins, and each pin would have a number on it, and that would be the beekeeper's number. And so someone would call in for do a bee check, and we physically walk up to the wall and see who was within a mile range of where that application was going to take place, and then we could convey that information back to the grower or the applicator and give them the person they needed to contact. So, every county had to maintain their own bee map in their offices. And so the idea was, how do we make what each county is doing in a way that everyone could access and be far more transparent between all the entities involved. So that's where we came up with Beware. Eventually, CACASA, the California Ag Commissioners and Sealer Association, uh, CAPCO, which is the PCAs, the State Beekeepers Association, Almond Board, Citrus Mutual, tomato growers were also involved, and Valent. Um, Basically, were sponsors to bring the funds together to get this put together. And it's a extremely useful tool and can really help everyone involved with applications and registration and all that kind of fun stuff. So we'll get to more of that as we go ahead. So the next slide. Again, it's a collaborative effort between CDFA, Department of Pesticide Regulation, Field Watch, Agrian, CDMS, Wilbur Ellis, and the actual programmer, which is Calico Solutions, which is the people who build our permit program for the ag commissioners. So they all work together to try and create a program that will help everybody in the long run. What is Beware software? What does it do? So it's a confidential repository of beekeeper registrations and locations. Enhances to the CalAg permit system that the county ag commissioners use. The CalAg permits website, and then integration with other third-party software such as FieldWatch. Agrian is built in for the pest control advisors. CDMS, and then also Wilbur Ellis is involved because they have their own system. Next slide. All right. So obviously regulatory issues are built into this kind of programming. Why do we do this in the first place? Well, because there's ag codes that require it. And so Food Net Code 29040, every person that's an owner or in the possession of an apiary, which is in the state of California, on the first day of January each year shall register the number of colonies with each apiary, which is owned by the person and location. So basically, you got to call the ag commissioner and you have to register that your bees are in their county. 29042, every person who moves bees into the state or otherwise comes into possession of the apiaries located in the state after January 1 shall register their bees. So, within 30 days of moving your bees, you must register your bees with that county. Like I say, back in the day, we would actually put them on a physical map. Now they can all be done online, much faster, even more accurate, because it's not the ag commissioner pinning them, it's the actual beekeeper. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as we move on. Next slide. Registration of an apiary shall be filed with the commissioner of the county in which the apiary is located, meaning you call the county or you go through Beware and you pin your bees yourself. The director shall adopt a form of registration to be used statewide. That is where Beware came from. And we all use the exact same system. We all use Beware to track our bees and where our beekeepers are and who they are and all that good stuff. So we all use, every county in the state uses Beware through the Ag Commissioner system. Registration is valid until January of the following year. So your bees are pinned through the year unless you remove them. And then everything resets on January 1 of the following year. Any person relocating a colony of bees from a registered apiary in one county to another where the apiary is not registered for the current calendar year shall notify the destination commissioner within 72 hours of first movement. So basically you have 72 hours once you move into a new county to pin your bees. Next slide. All right, confidentiality. This is an important factor for the beekeepers and your peace of mind that who's getting the information of where the bees are located. Basically, any information provided in accordance with this article or section 29070 shall be held confidential and shall not be disclosed to any person or government agency other than the department or county department of ag. So I mean, the ag commissioner is the one who has access to this, all of the information. It is not public record. We only give out the information that we are allowed to give out. So people who access Beware outside of the Ag Commissioner system cannot see where actual pins are. They don't see our mapping, where the maps are and where everybody's located. That is only privileged to the Ag Commissioner. So have confidence that the Ag Commissioner is not just giving that information out. We will only give out what you allow us as beekeepers when you register with Beware, what information you want released and in what format. Next. Okay. Now getting into regulatory on applicators. Each person intending to apply any pesticide labeled toxic to bees to a blossoming plant shall, prior to application, notify the Ag Commissioner or basically do a bee check. When they do those bee checks, you have to, and you need to notify, you say you do a bee check and you now have to talk to a beekeeper. You have to notify the applicator or the apiary operator or the beekeeper or their representative within 48 hours in the advance of an application. You shall tell them the time and place the application be made, the crops, the acres to be treated, the method of application, what materials you're going to use, and how the person performing pest control may be contacted by the apiary operator or their designated representative. So as a applicator grower is going to apply, they've done a bee check, then they find out there are beekeepers within the mile of their application site. This information, time, place, crop, acreage, method of application, rate, and who the contact shall be given to the beekeeper or their designated agent within 48 hours prior to the application. Next slide. And the Ag Commissioner does have the ability to increase or decrease that time depending on situation. What does Beware do? Okay, so it is a registration tool. It allows beekeepers to register with the county they will be working with, including their home county. Not every home county can be kind of a deceptive term. Home county is basically your first county in which you're going to operate in. You already have hives in. Some people actually live in the county in which they operate. That's their home county, and they have apiaries in those counties. That's perfectly fine. But a lot of times, because we have so much influx of bees coming from out of the county, out of the state, usually we call their home county the first county in which they actually register. So, and then once you're registered in your home county or your first county, once you've gotten that registration done, you can automatically register in any additional county with moving forward. Registration also means that the first county in which you register with, or your home county, that is where you will pay your $10 registration fee. Once you've paid that home county registration fee, you do not need to pay it in any additional county. So once you've paid, you don't need to pay any longer. You should be denoted in the system that you have paid your registration fee and you are exempt from paying registrations in any other county. So if you're paying more than one county registration fees, that is inaccurate. You only need to pay for your first county. You can create colony locations by using pins, just like we used to do on the big county maps on the wall. We now do electronically. And the beekeeper is responsible for pinning those on the county map in which they will have their bees. And then really important to us and to the whole system is make sure those things are updated. So you bring your bees in, you pin them, you register in your home county, and then once you remove them, you then either delete the site or delete the pin, or you can zero it out. If you zero out a pin, it is removed from the map that does the searching for notifications. So you do not have to delete every site. If you know you're going back to a certain location the following year, you can just zero out a location or a pin and it will stay active for you, but it will not show up. So you won't be notified or as having bees in that site any longer. It will basically disappear from searches that are done while people are doing bee checks. So that way you don't have to duplicate work the following year. If you know you're going to go back to a certain location, just zero out that location and then move forward. Notifications, what does Beware do? It gives applicators the contact information for beekeepers. It does not show does not show applicators where the bees are. It just tells them that within a mile of their application site, there are keepers or they're not keepers in the area, and gives them the contact information for those keepers so they can do their notifications within 48 hours. Lets PCAs know there are bees in the area, but will not give them the actual keepers' names or locations as well. PCAs are, when they do a recommendation, say using Agrian or through Wilbur Ellis, they can find out there are beekeepers in the area. So they may need to, if they need to adjust their recommendation because there are beekeepers nearby, they can do so, but it does not give location or even contact information. And then the final notification gives county ag commissioners staff access to beekeepers. We know where you are. We know who you are once you're pinned. So we do have that information, but we do not give it out because it is more important for us to make sure that everyone knows where they are. So we're good. We do not give out actual locations. We will only give out information if requested properly. Next slide. What does Beware not do? This is also important. Does not send notifications to beekeepers on behalf of applicators. So an applicator does a bee check. They're using a material that is toxic to bees. They do a bee check, and within 1 mile of their site, and they find there are beekeepers in their area, they will get that information of who that is, but they do not know either where you are as far as beekeeper, or they do not send notification to the beekeepers on behalf of through Beware. Is purely informational. Beware is not a notification system. It is up to the applicator to notify beekeepers of any pesticide application labeled toxic to bees to a blooming plant. Intent is to have applicators work with beekeepers to protect bees. This is not a way to notify beekeepers directly or even indirectly, because beekeepers don't even know bee checks are happening. They should be getting phone calls, emails, text messages, something in order to notify them within 48 hours of the application. Beekeepers cannot pay annual registration through Beware. I have had this complaint since Beware started, and I apologize for it. I wish there was a way we could do it through the system, but currently does not take registration funds. Your $10 registration fee has to be paid to the first county or your home county when you set up your registration each year. So it does not, you cannot pay through the system. So contact your county ag commissioner to determine payment methods. They will tell you what they will and will not take. Okay, thank you. Next slide. Okay, how to access Beware. You can use beware.calagpermits.org, or you can use beecheck.org. They both go to the same place. You can sign up online. If you have a CalAg Permits user web name or user ID, you can use that. But do not use, if you already have one, don't use the same email. Most counties are very happy to help set people up if you have any questions. Sometimes people get a little confused at the beginning, but let us know if you need any help signing up and getting registered. Your county ag commissioner would be more than happy to help you set up in these systems. And there are specific tabs for beekeepers, pest control advisors, pardon me, and growers and applicators. And we'll hopefully, I think I've got a slide showing that front page here in a minute. There is not an app at this time, but the website does work very well with internet accessible tablets or phones. It would be nice if there was an app, but right now there just isn't one. But if you access the website, the beware.calagpermits.org or beecheck.org, they take you to the same place, and they work very well with your smartphones or tablets. That's what we use in the county. We have tablets that we use. Doesn't matter if it's Apple or other Android, they both work nearly identical. So you can even switch back and forth. It's no big deal. PCAs, growers, and pest control businesses. You sign in using your CalAg Permits public web user credentials, or you can sign up for a new account. Cannot use the same email as any CalAg Permits public web user username. Request access to permit or license. So if you have a current sign in, you can use that. If you do not, the county would be more than happy to help set you up for that. Next slide. So how do beekeepers comply? Beekeeper must identify the location of their bees. That you have to pin your bees in the system. Register annually online or in person. You can still go to the ag commissioner's office and pay in person. And we will even, if you need assistance one-on-one to help set up in Beware, maybe you've never used it, maybe you're a little bit computer shy, that is not a problem. Most ag commissioners have terminals that we could set somebody up with, or my inspectors will take you back to their desk and we will sit there and show you how to use the program if we need to. It's not a problem. We really need people to use this program because we do not maintain a bee check map any longer. Everything is done through Beware. We do not use any other kind of system anymore. So it's really, really, really important that beekeepers, applicators use this system, because this is what's been put forward to fulfill their requirements of registering with the county and for checking for bees before applications. Registration annually online or in person. Say registration means that you sign up on the website. It does not mean you pay your fee. You have to pay your fee to the ag commissioner. whether it's check or money order or whatever, or credit card, do that through the county. Beware calagpermits.org or bcheck will get you to the same area. I'm sorry, beware.calagpermits.org or bcheck.org take you to the same place. $10 initial registration fee at your first county. Locate correct position and put a pin. We are not going to go through how to actually do that, but there are plenty of things online that will show you how if you need assistance, or you come into the ag commissioner and we will help you. Name that location and identify how many bees are present. If bees are moved, so at the end of the season or even during the season, you move your bees or either out or you move them to a new location, please edit that location. Again, either delete the location if you don't think you're coming back the following year, or just zero out the location. Just put a 0 for the colonies present, and that location will remain active, but it will not show up on a bee check. Be diligent about updating your pin locations. Pins can be zeroed when the bees are moved. Again, it holds your location where it is, but it will not show up. So you will not be notified for bee checks in areas where the pins are zeroed out. Next slide. This was a video on how to register your hives. I think we'll go ahead and skip it because we were having issues with volume. But there are plenty of tutorials through YouTube. Go online, just put in beware, and you'll get everything you ever want to use, on how to register your bees, the information that's required, how to fill it out, how to pin your bees, all that kind of stuff. So it really is very helpful. I use a lot of things when I do, YouTube. You find out a lot of great information. So please utilize those. Like I said, you just go to YouTube, put in beware or beware pin or beware tutorial or anything of that sort, and you'll get the information you need. You can also go through your CalAg permits. I believe there's some links there too. Or contact your ag commissioner and we can get you hooked up and give you the specific places to go if you need it. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so this is something I really wanted to point out to everybody. Please share this information with your beekeepers. And it's really important for everyone to understand. This is what a bee check looks like when we do one here at the county. So I've eliminated who those bees belong to, so don't worry about that. But what I do want to show is, okay, that red square in the middle, that's where the bee check was done. And bee checks go 1 mile from the edge of the property. So that's why that oval is not, or that, the dotted line around it isn't just a big circle. It's actually 1 mile from the border of the site. And what I want to show, and I wish I had a pointer, but I don't. You see the bee pins that are inside that circle. There you go. If you go to the one on the right-hand side where keep going to your right, and you see there's a black, there you go. That one, someone put the pin right in the middle of the site. Well, that site is not being picked up on the bee check because the pin is in the middle of the site. The best way to handle that would be to pin the corners. And I'll show you I've got the next slide. I'll show you just a second what that looks like. So here you go. You can see where beekeepers have pinned the corners of the fields. And those sites are picked up on the bee check. If you only pin on the edge or in the middle, as you can see just above, there's a site where the bee pin is actually outside the bee check circle. That site is not picked up on the bee check. That beekeeper's information is not given to the applicator. So they're being skipped. And what I'm really trying to let people know is when you pin your bees, because I see pins of 1,000 hives, 500 hives, and there's one pin. Pin the corners of the field in which you are located, because that way you are going to be notified far more accurately than if you just pin the middle of the site. So I really can't stress this enough because I've had a lot of calls from beekeepers who say, I don't get notifications anymore. What happened? And I think what did happen was that when we used to do these maps on the walls, we would pin the corners, and we surveyed a little bit better than what's being done through Beware right now, because the pin practices haven't matched what used to be. So take the time. You don't need to pin every single location inside of that site where your bees are. As you can see down below, you know, this person put pins all over the place. It's better to have more than not enough, but I think it really is going to help beekeepers in the future pin the corners of the site in which your bees are located, and it will increase your notification traffic because the bee check will pick you up. So I think that will really, really help getting notifications done, because I think people are being skipped unintentionally just because of the way the change in the system has happened. So I hope everyone understands what I'm trying to get at. You kind of look at that left-hand side over where there's one pin on one corner. Yep, right there. One pin on the north end of that field, but we know there's bees throughout that entire orchard. So if you pin those four corners, you're going to increase your chances of being notified. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Again, so now we're moving from beekeepers to growers who make applications and pest control businesses. You have a couple options. You can log into CalAg permits with your CalAg, or I'm sorry, log into Beware with your CalAg permits, because they are both built by the same people. You can log into the Beware program using your CalAg permits credentials, your pesticide permit, or your pest control business information. All that will be imported automatically into Beware. You can sign up for a new account using an email already not associated with the CalAg permits login, or Beware will request your county of operation and your permit number or your PCB license through the county. If you have issues with signing up, you're not sure exactly what to do, or you're having any issues, always feel free to contact the county ag commissioners in your home county or any county which you operate in, and make sure that they will get you registered. We'll help you out. It's not difficult to do. Our staff's been doing this for years, so we're pretty well versed on it. So we can get growers and pest control businesses signed up. Next slide. Here's just what it looks like. Email, create a password, confirm the password, security question, an answer for that security question, and hit register. That's basically it. That will get you started. Next slide. Doing a bee check. You can either call us directly through our regular business hours and contact us, and we will help you do a bee check, but we would much rather you do the bee check through the Beware system, because you're going to get the information quicker and just as much. We're looking at the same information. So using CalAg permits or a participating crop management software, Wilbur Ellis, somebody like that, you can get into Beware and you can do bee checks yourself. I have applicators, especially air applicators, that utilize Beware almost every day during their busy seasons. There's just hundreds and hundreds of lines of applications where they are doing their bee checks because they have to, and it really helps them get their information and move on. And so you are always available to call your ag commissioner, but we are only here from 8 to 5. If you need that information after hours, go through Beware, but I would just recommend everyone try and do your bee checks through Beware. But we are more than happy to help. Next slide. Again, the information for growers who are making applications themselves or a pest control business, we need to know your permit number, or for the site ID the application is going to happen on, the date, the site number, commodity, and the EPA number or product name of the material that you are looking for. The system tracks your information. So this is what a bee check actually looks like. This is the information that a grower or applicator will get. All the information we just talked about, and then those are the actual beekeepers at the bottom. John Hasby, Joe's Bee Service, SLOBs, those are the people and how they want to be notified. Sometimes it's email, sometimes it's text message, sometimes it's phone call, and the beekeeper has put in their preferred time to be notified. If as a beekeeper you will have a specific time frame in which you want to be notified, please make yourself available during that time. Does no good for people to call you between 11 o'clock and 1 p.m. and nobody's answering the phone. So if you're going to put a time, please make yourself available for that time. But that's the information they get. They do not get a map. They do not get actual pin locations. They only get an applicator doing a bee check only gets who is available and how they are to be notified. Next slide. Again, this is how a bee check is done. This is what it looks like. The permit number, application date, site number, commodity, and then the actual pesticide, which is toxic to bees, and then it creates the use report, or creates the bee check information for the person making the bee check itself. Next slide. Again, if there's nobody in the area, this is what you'll find. No known beekeepers within 1 mile selected boundary. Again, that's why I was talking about how to pin the bees, pin your corners of your field in which you are located so that this information is more accurate. So if they don't, no beekeepers are within that 1 mile of the border of the field being applied to, this is the information that the applicator gets. Next slide. Pest control advisors, they can log in to get access to Beware, and they can check when writing a recommendation. Again, the required information, the county, the permit number, application date, site number, commodity, pesticide, pesticide EPA number, and you can create, do basically a raw bee check. The problem is you don't even get the information of the actual beekeeper. You just get, yes, there's somebody within 1 mile of the site you're writing the rec for, but you don't get any more information. One thing that has been added is now a pest control advisor can get access as basically for a grower and do a P-check for a grower. So like they were being a pest control, so they are actually doing a real bee check. So if a pest control advisor wants to, basically they can request to be added on to a certain grower's permit, and they can perform bee checks through that permit, but only that permit. And they only get the same information that an applicator would get. So you'll get the, are there bees in the area, and who they are. They do not get mapping information. They do not get specific points. They just get who's there and how to notify them. Next slide. Account login. You log in as a beekeeper, you log in as a PCA, or you log in as an applicator. You has the username, password, very straightforward. There's also information if you need to, if you lose your password, you can get it, that kind of stuff. So that's basically what the login screen looks like. Next slide. Bee checks with PCA, multiple pesticides can be entered into the product field, but you will only get, this is a PCA doing basically a bee check while doing a rec or after writing a rec, a recommendation. The results will provide the total colonies within 1 mile of the proposed site. You will not get location or contact information unless you are checking for a specific permit. But a PCA that is logged in just as a PCA will only get that there's bees within 1 mile, how many bees there are, but you will not get contact or location information. If you want more specifics for a specific grower, you can be linked to a grower's permit and you will get better information. If no locations are found in your result, it'll indicate that there's no bees found. Next slide. Again, this is a bee check report. for a pest control advisor, you put in all the information that's required, and it just says if there's, the application date is the 27th and there were no colonies in that area. That's all the information the PCA is going to get. Beware maintains, so maintaining records, what records are kept by Beware? Beware maintains a record of bee checks ran by growers, PCBs, and PCAs. It is kept in the system and the county ag commissioner can access it to, has access to it. So we can go in and look. If a beekeeper says they want to know, was a bee check performed on, a specific area, we can look for that. Recommend individuals keep a record of your bee checks. You can do when you get a bee check that comes up on your screen, you can do basically a screenshot and keep that information, and keep a record of the timing. Beekeepers are notified. Again, Beware is not a notification system. They just provide the information. It is up to the applicator to maintain that information for themselves. So it's a good idea to know when you did a bee check, and if there were bees and you notified that beekeeper, keep a record of when they were notified and who you talked to and if you left a message or whatever you did. That way, if there is an accusation of a bee injury, you have evidence to show that you did your due diligence. Best practices enforcement. Again, this is trying to create a direct relationship between beekeepers and growers and applicators. We can't say the word enough and probably heard it too many times, but it cannot be said enough times as communication. Phone calls, face-to-face contact, get to know your beekeepers, applicators, and beekeepers get to know your applicators and your growers. I can't tell you how many times we try and find out who's talking to who and no one knows anything. So please try and create relationships between yourselves so that, this communication can flow easier. Encourage the use of Beware when pesticide application needs to be done. I can't stress it enough. We are always at a source of research information. The county ag commissioner is, but Beware is there for you all the time. Be available as a beekeeper, answer calls, return your calls within your allotted time, communication again, and ask if night application a possibility when applications or other measures can be utilized, whether it's covering the bees, moving the bees, what needs to be done. Good beekeeper and PCA relationship can be achieved by creating a relationship, talking to each other. Inform PCAs what can be done as far as moving bees, asking for buffers, alternate pesticides, learn the pesticides that PCAs are recommending. This helps beekeepers know if the hives need to be moved or if they can stay. PCAs, that's why you do the bee check, find out what's around you and if you need to modify your application recommendation. Once notification is made, the application can be made in 48 hours. So the bees need to be moved or or other options have to be implemented, whether they're covered, night application, whatever needs to be done. So you get that 48-hour notification, please contact the applicator and let them know that what needs to be done to protect your bees. Administrative civil penalties or citations of beekeepers not in compliance with the law. Basically, the ag commissioner does have the ability to level a civil penalty against beekeepers or applicators, depending on who did not do what they were supposed to do. How to stay in compliance with the law. Register hives with your ag commissioner. Use Beware or Bee Check. Notify the ag commissioner within 72 hours when hives are relocated. And hives must have a name, address, and phone number of the beekeeper, and the apiary must be identifiable. Please mark your hives, who they belong to, and a phone number, who to call in case there's need to get a hold of someone. So we have enforcement. The county ag commissioner has enforcement abilities for not only the beekeepers, but the the applicators as well. This is not all focused on beekeepers. We want to treat everyone fairly and hold everyone accountable. Recognition of the Beware system, resolution chapter 38, basically says they did a good thing. So Beware is an excellent solution for a problem that we've had for a while. But so, anyways, next slide. Again, frequently asked questions and resources and tools, bewarecalifornia.com, beware at CalAg permits, or you go to californiastatebeekeepers.com/beware. Tutorial videos, guides, information. You can go to YouTube. There's plenty of information there. There are resources, or contact your county ag commissioner and we will help you any way, shape, or form that we can. And I think that's where I have. If there's any questions or anything in the chat that I can address.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. We had a few questions come in. First of all, you started to talk about this towards the end. What are the penalties for failure to register your bees? If a beekeeper fails to register their bees and there's an incident, are they at fault?
Very good questions. First one, what is their penalties? First of all, we will issue what's called a notice of violation. Oftentimes that notice of violation is all that we need to do. We don't normally get into civil penalties, but if a beekeeper refuses to register, and we have a track record of that, my personal way I do my enforcement is, are you making an effort? If you're not making an effort and you're causing problems and complaints and you're breaking registration regulations, we could then create a fine. Fines start at $50 and go up from there. Depends on how many times you don't want to comply, and it basically will be incremental from there. So I've never written a violation for beekeepers yet, so don't make me do it. But if you push me and are not being compliant and not helping us do our jobs the way we want to, then we will take that path.
Great, thanks for that.
What was the other part?
Just if there's an incident.
Oh, okay.
Then
so
is the beekeeper at fault for failure to register?
It's going to be taken into consideration in the investigation. I can't say they're at fault on that bit of information. Basically, what we're going to do is, if a beekeeper they have a bee kill and they did not register, does that automatically mean that they're at fault? No. It will have to, did the applicator do their due diligence by doing the bee check in the first place? If the beekeeper does everything they're supposed to do, and they checked and found nobody there, then it's going to be very difficult for us to do anything on the applicator if they did everything, they did their due diligence. And if a beekeeper did not register their hives. But again, there's going to be multiple factors that go into that, answering that question. But so that's why we investigate. We do not automatically start looking for who's at fault. We look at all sides of the investigation and see what could have been done better or should have been done. We never want to see bees harmed. We want to protect them. We need them as part of our industry. My job depends on ag like everybody else's. And so we need, so I hate to be kind of coy on that, but that's really what it comes down to, is we have to investigate to find out all aspects of the incident. But I will say, if you do not pin your hives and do not register in the county, it is not helping your case.
Right, great. Then could you say, is registration required for hobbyist beekeepers? If you just have a few hives in your backyard, do you have to register?
You can register as a hobbyist.
Okay, but
there
is it required by the same statutes?
I I have to look into that. I don't remember off the top of my head. I do know we have hobbyists that will register with us. That way they are in the system and they can be notified. It would be best that if they are part of Beware, you know, for $10, it's worth the effort. That way if you're anywhere near someone that could, you know, production agriculture, I would highly, highly recommend that you do that, because if you don't and you get drifted on, the beekeeper, the applicator could say they had no idea that anybody was there. I mean, they're not supposed to drift anyway, and there's no excuse for drift. But let's, you know, it's best to register. I think if you register as a hobbyist, you may not have to pay the fee, but I'm not exactly sure on that. So contact our office. We'd be more than happy to help you out.
Great. Well, thanks, Bill. That's all the questions we had so far. Although you stay tuned for the end of the webinar because we may have some more. And I really appreciate this. This actually, I have been talking about Beware for 3 years, and I now have the most complete understanding I've ever had on how to use that product. So really appreciate that.
Very
So
good. Appreciate it.
reshare my screen and continue on with the view from applicator. Let's get us set up there. All right, over to you now, Jen Dickey from CR Orchards, gonna walk us through how an applicator's experience with the software product is.
Thank you. Good morning. So this is going to be the first time I've given this presentation not in control of it. And so we'll just see how this works. I am an animated person. So there's a lot of animation and pictures on mine, not a lot of words. So my name is Jennifer. Like she said, we do custom applicating, and then we have our own. I have a little bit of experience as an ag biologist, because before I came back to run the family farm and family business, I was an ag biologist in my county. So I have perspective of both sides of that, which is sometimes good and sometimes bad. But I've been asked to talk about the Beware program from the perspective of the grower or the custom applicator. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of this program. So we'll just dive right in. So as you just heard, it's the law. Something that was fun for me to learn when I became a inspector was it's not only the law for growers and applicators, it's the law for beekeepers as well, or apiarists. I don't know what happened to there it is. So that was interesting for me, and you just heard all about it and how it works. So they have to register as well. And so because, uh-oh, it's not in order. Oh, that's okay. Next slide. We'll just go with it. So some of the ugly is when I used to work for the county, and I came back to work here, we depend a lot on the weatherman. And so we'd be seeing no weather in the forecast all week. It's not going to rain until possibly Tuesday or Wednesday. And then Friday at 5 p.m., all of a sudden, it's going to rain on Monday. And of course, it's 5 p.m. The County Agriculture Commissioner's office is closed. So next button. Uh-oh. And so the county always seems to be closed when you absolutely need to do a bee check. So you get the weather report and you're like, well, crud, I have to spray my blossoms, my blooms, and the county is closed. The county that I worked for used to allow some overtime on Saturdays, but when you get there at 7 a.m. on Saturday and you've got 78 bee checks to do, the way the county used to do bee checks was there's a map on the wall and they put little pins up there. And so then you had to look at the little pins. They had numbers on them. And then you had to go find all the beekeepers that associated with those numbers. So bee checks took forever. Even if the county was open, bee checks took time, and it was on their time. It wasn't on your time. So that was really hard. As an applicator, you call at 8 o'clock in the morning and they say, oh, there's a whole bunch of bees around there. We'll call you back. And so next slide. There we go. You're on the phone. You're trying to get the correct information from the beekeeper. I don't know what happened, but these are all messed up. But you're trying to get the correct information from the county and push button. And you're taking notes wherever you can, because it never fails that they call you back when you're in the middle of the orchard or moving somebody or a water tank or something like that. So you're trying to keep all this records. You're trying to get beekeepers to answer the phone within their requested hours. And it's a struggle. So now we'll go on to the good. The good. It's better for the bees, which means it's better for the grower, because the grower starts with this beautiful bloom. And we absolutely need the bees in order to get our crop. So if we can take care of the bees, we can have a healthy crop. So if it's better for the bees, it's better for the grower. So it's really important that we do our bee checks and we try to keep the bees as safe as possible. So remember that Monday shower. Well, the good news is the Beware program is always available for us to do the right thing. We don't have to wait for the county to be open. It's available to us. There are some things going through it. I don't know where that came from. Hit it again and see what happens. All right, bee checks, they don't take forever anymore. They do take time though. But it's your time. You're no longer waiting for the county to call you back with all the beekeepers and you have to take notes. You can do it on your time. For example, this morning, we're spraying and the wind picked up and it was like, oh crud, I got to go stop these guys and move, and we got to do this and do that. So if I was in the middle of trying to get a hold of the county at that time, well, first of all, it was before the county was open, but if I was trying to get a hold of the county, it would have been difficult. With it being on the computer, you can do it on your time. So you can start a bee check and then go fix something or do something that you need to do and come back. So that's very helpful. You are taking notes on the paperwork that you print out, not trying to keep them all sorted from where you took them. So you're not on the phone for hours. So now it's all in one confusing place on your computer in your own office. You can do bee checks anytime you want. Next. All right. So we're going to, yeah, you don't have the one with all the information on how to register. Did I not send you the, yeah, something's not right here.
Sorry, we'll just go ahead. I think that Bill did cover that on how to register.
Okay. Yeah, but yikes. Okay, yeah, so the how-to, so Bill did go over that a little bit, but these are some tips to make it easier. But the how-to, so you can check as, is there a way to share my screen, or we don't have that? Because the
I think it would be too complicated at this stage.
Okay. So there is a way to check as a beekeeper, as a grower and as an applicator, and they are different. So make sure that if you are just a grower and it's just your permit and you're only checking your own fields, that you're checking under grower. You click the grower, because if you check as an applicator, you have to have a pest control business license, and you'll just get really confused once you get in there. I had slides that went over that. So, so tips to make it easier, please make sure that you save the website. So that way, when you're getting on, I took over the business, or I'm taking over the business, working with my dad, who is older and the computer is not really his forte. So put it in the little star so that you can click on it very easily. You can find it. The website's right there for you. Next. You're going to save your login. This is really hard. You're going to hit the little remember me button. You hit the little, if you hit next, it should, yeah. if you hit next, there'll be a red, there it is. You'll hit the remember me. If you hit that remember me, your password will pop up the next time you're there, so you don't have to remember your password. And it's really important to do this. I know it's a struggle. There's no payment information, so there's no credit card information in here. People really aren't, if they're getting jammed up or whatever, they're not there to steal your bee information or your permit information. So the remember me, the password, remembering it, that will help you a lot to be able to just hit login next. So hit that remember me button so that it's saved there for you. Trying to get beekeepers to answer the phone and all of that. I don't know what happened. Hit the next one and see what happened. Oh, okay. So there is supposed to be, there we go. We're trying to get hours requested. It was really difficult to try to get them all on the phone. Beekeepers now get to tell you how they want to be communicated with. So when you click the information, hit it again. So they can tell you that they want to be text messaged. They can tell you if they want email, which is my favorite, and they can tell you if they want to be called by phone. The text messaging and the email is great because then you have documentation. As a grower, it's your responsibility to document that you reached out to the beekeeper in case there is an incident. Take notes, keep notes. Text message and email are great because it's all right there. So if the beekeeper texts you back, it's good to go. Or emails you back, no, I don't have bees in the area anymore. I get that a lot. Or we're safe, or if they say, please go before 8 a.m. So then you document when you sprayed the field. If there is an incident, then you have, look, I sprayed, I was done before 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. The email says that I could do this. And the reason that they are within a mile is because bees fly. So sometimes you'll get questions from beekeepers. Is there anything blossoming in the field? Now, this is in June or July when you're spraying for whole split. It's not right now because obviously there's something blooming in the field right now. But they want to know if there's weeds blooming because they want to make sure their bees aren't drawn to your field. So text messaging and emails, you have documentation of this conversation that you might have had. If you get the phone call, document it, write it down. Beekeeper said good to go. Quote exactly what they said. Or a beekeeper requested before 8 a.m. And that way that when you get there, you know that as well. So this Beware program makes it a lot easier. It's not just phone calls. When we worked for the county, we just got phone numbers from the beekeepers to give to the growers. So yeah. So the how-to a little bit too is that when you're doing these bee checks, if you are in a different county, so we spray for growers in Merced County and Stanislaus County. And so used to be when I would call the county would say, I have a grower that's right close to the Stanislaus Merced County line. And they'd say, okay, this is what they are in Merced County. Now you need to call Stanislaus County. As an applicator, I have a different login for Merced County Beware and Stanislaus County Beware. The awesome part is that if I'm logged into Merced County's Beware, it will also give me the bees that are in Stanislaus County. And you do end up with a map. It's a map. It has a red square around your, or not square, whatever shape your orchard is in, the field you're spraying, and there is a circle around it, just like the gentleman before me stated. And it has like letters A, B, C, and D in it. And then those letters correspond, you can see on this screen. A would be all the little red circles in the map that are A, B, or C. The awesome part about this as well, as an applicator, sometimes I'm doing 15 to 20 bee checks a day. That used to sometimes be 12 phone calls to the county. I can do them with the Beware program. And say I do one grower and he has 4 sites, and Honey Creek Bee Apiaries, the letter B up there, is on 3 of the 4. I can cross him off a 2 and communicate with him and just say, I'm spraying these 4 sites that your bees have popped up on. So it's a lot more condensed information and a lot easier to look at all of it. Make sure that you're printing your bee checks so that this information is printed out and on a sheet of paper, and you can write on it, and keep it with the recommendation. So you've got proof that you did the bee check, you've got proof that you communicated with them, especially if you're keeping notes on this, and all the information when you go to spray that, because you're looking at the recommendation, is all in one place. I think, I don't know what happened to the rest of my slides, but remember when you're communicating with these guys to be kind. They're frustrated sometimes, you're frustrated. Right now, we're not doing a lot of communicating with beekeepers only because there's not a lot of products that we're spraying during bloom that are not safe for bees. We try really hard as growers, and a lot of times right now I don't spray. If it says toxic to bees, we won't spray it. They'll have to find another applicator, because there's obviously bees in our fields. We put them there. We've paid to have them put there. So a lot of these communications come up later in the year when we're spraying for whole split or other bug sprays. So during that time, you might get some beekeepers that have forgot to zero out their hives, which I didn't know was an option. So that was fun to learn. Or I forgot to remove their hives. Be kind. When you call them and they say, it's June, my bees aren't there anymore. Okay, thanks. If you could take them off, I won't call you next week or 2 weeks from now when I'm doing another application and your bees pop up. That also being said, if that beekeeper continues to pop up, continue to reach out to them. Just because they told you 2 weeks ago that they didn't have bees in the area, and you're doing another bee check for another grower, call them again. Email them, text message them, whatever they have requested on the program to cover your own hiney. There was a question about the hobbyists, and that I just want to say that as an applicator, we don't know you're there if you're not registered. So in my area, there's actually a group, a club of honeybee keepers. And what they did last year is one lady registered all the different hives for all the different, like this guy had 2 in his backyard and this guy had 1 and this guy. And so I only had contact with one lady, which was really awesome. I got to know her a little bit. She was a beekeeper, so she was a little different, but we're growers, so we're a little different too. It was good that she was the single contact. So if you have like a club or a group or something, that really worked out well for me and for her, and for them, I think, because they're in town, but if I'm not drifting like I'm not supposed to, then it shouldn't be a problem. So are there any questions? All my how-tos disappeared. So I hope that you understand. There's a lot of button clicking. It's pretty self-explanatory once you get in how to do this. You've got to put the date in there. You've got to put your pesticides in there. Let me see if I can look at my own. Remember that the pesticides that you're putting in there, you don't have to put zinc in there. So you don't have to take forever. Like some working with a bunch of different PCAs, I'm super blessed to learn a lot. And some PCAs will add 6, 7, 8 nutrients. You have to put the things that have an EPA number in your mixture in the bee check. But if you're putting calcium or zinc or boron, you don't have to take the time to put those in your bee check if you don't want. You're more than welcome to, but that will save you some time in that bee check. And then once you get the results, it says generate a bee check report. Once you generate that bee check report, it has notified the county as well. So in order to make this presentation, I think I generated like 8 bee check reports. I had to call Merced County and say, okay, those aren't real. So just it notifies the county that you have done a bee check report. So you don't have to do that. Okay.
Thanks, Jennifer, and apology for the challenges with the slides, but I think you gave us, yeah, I mean, it was, again, I've been talking about Beware for a long time, but I think you gave some really practical insights into how it works and why, I mean, to be honest, if you're a pesticide applicator, this is the way to go, right? I mean, the fact that you can do it any time of day is just fantastic advertising for why this is the system. So we're going to, that's awesome. So stay tuned because we may have some final questions as we wrap up. So I'm going to turn now to Brian Ashert with Ashert Bees to talk a little bit about his experience as a beekeeper using the system. So there we go. Over to you, Brian.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm a little jealous. I don't have nice slides like everybody else did, but you know, we were busy moving bees into the orchards, and so we just finished that up. And so this is timely that we can have this discussion right now. I keep bees primarily in Southern California. That's where we're based at. We're mainly pollinators. So we are constantly moving bees and dealing with bee checks and talking to PCAs and growers and applicators all the time. So I'm supposed to walk you through the beekeeper side of it, how we kind of deal with it. I can tell you that for me and for most of the people that I talk to, using Beware has been a great asset. It's been really good for us to stay in communication, just made things a lot easier. I know some areas of the state, it seems to be a little more of a struggle. Honestly, in our area, it's always been pretty good. We always talk to PCAs and we work together. But this has made it even much easier for everybody to communicate. I will admit at the beginning, beekeepers were a little bit hesitant to do this. They didn't quite understand how this was all going to work. Beekeepers are very territorial. They were worried about people seeing where their bees are and all that. The CSBA, the California State Beekeepers Association, has taken on an effort to educate and get them to all understand how the system works. And I think we've made pretty good headway into that. We're seeing the registrations every year increase. And I think that beekeepers are starting to understand that. Our next outreach would be mostly the people coming in from out of state, so they understand that they have to be registering and doing their part in all of this also. So for me, I will tell you that what we recommend to everybody beekeeper wise and what we do is we move our bees a lot, and we're going in and out of fields, and we are going up into multiple counties. So every night, every day when we have moved the bees, the next morning, first thing I do is update my books. And part of that is updating Beware. So I'll go to the Beware site, open it up. Okay, zero that spot out, add this spot in, and just do all my part to get the notifications. For me, I prefer text messaging. Of course, you heard today, there's multiple ways that a beekeeper can be contacted. I like text messaging just for the same reason that was brought up earlier. I have a record of it now. Plus, it gives me a minute in time to look it up because, you know, we get notifications either by, and mostly in Southern California, it's by field and gate number, canal gate numbers. And so I might have to look it up to know precisely where are we talking about here. So that gives me a few minutes to look it up before I reply back to say, yeah, go for it or whatever. Communicating what the chemical is going to be applied is important to me. And because there's plenty of stuff out there that's pretty safe. And as long as we know what is being applied, we can make a more informed decision about what we want to do with the bees. With that, on the applicator side, on the PCA side, keep in mind there is alternatives. And so when the beekeeper asks, is there an alternative we can use? Kind of know what, yeah, we could use this, or is going at night possible? Because going at night can save a lot of headaches for a lot of people. Now, if we're on a pollination, we're being paid to be there. We can't just move the bees because you decide, your neighbor or decides they need to spray. So we all definitely need to be working together for the benefit of everybody involved in the farm. So talking about doing a night spray, talking about an alternative chemical is important. So I always ask for that too. As far as using the beeware, like I said, we go and we put the pin in there. We say the bees are here, and for me, I just leave them there and zero them out, so they're always on my map, because I'm gonna go back to that location at some point. So I just leave it there, and then when I go back, I update the numbers and put the numbers in. Applicators, it's great when you guys use it. It really takes a lot of headache out. So I want to stress this though: do what you say you're gonna do. We've had problems where an applicator, we worked it all out, and then we get there to move the bees because we're gonna move them for them, and they're already spraying the field. And so, make sure you do what you say you're gonna do, because that's important. Because we're here to work with you, and we don't want to hold up sprays. I want, it's farming. It's just part of it, and we all got to work together on it. So, for the most part, for me, using beeware has been an excellent tool. It's worked out great. Beekeeper adoption is becoming more and more prevalent, I believe, now that we understand it. I use CalAct Commits. I go through the website. I find it very simple. A lot of guys are using the Field Watch app, BeeCheck, and they seem to like that too. And we'll keep pushing it as an association for people to register, make sure they use their website, make sure they pin their places. I think that we can all work together on this deal to make it work seamlessly and better. I'm trying to think if there's anything I should tell you about it as far as what I just would say it's very important that we do it, and that we stay working together on it. But it's a simple system, a lot better than going out of the county with a stack of paperwork and saying, okay, I moved 1,000 hives last night. Now here they all are. Change your pins. The beeware deal has made it so much easier. So very, very highly encouraging that we're moving down this path. Oh, and other thing, don't forget, bees are here year round. So I know there's a lot of emphasis on the almond balloon, but bees are still here in June, July, August. They're here the whole year. So make sure you perform those checks. And beekeepers, if there's any beekeepers on this phone or on this call, make sure you are ready to answer the phone. Make sure you are ready to be willing to move or to work with the farmer. It's important that everybody gets their sprays on. We watch out for bees, but we can all do it when we have good communication. And for me, I mainly talk to PCAs more than anything. And so I try to work it out with the PCA before it even gets to the applicator. That way, when the applicator gets it, it's like, yep, we got it all worked out. Don't worry about it. We're going to be out of there. So, but that's all I can really say about it. Is as far as the beekeeper side of it is, we use it and we encourage everybody to use it and keep using it because and keep it up to date. Very important, because I know that came up today that, oh, I don't have any bees there. Well, that's kind of on the beekeeper too. He needs to mark down or zero that place out so he knows that he's not going to get a call on it. I do know that I don't get calls all the time. And that's a little frustrating, but I think that's just part of the learning curve for all of us. And as time moves on, this thing's going to get better and better. So I encourage you to keep using it, get educated on it, and we'll do the same on the beekeeper side to make sure these guys are doing it because it's a good thing.
Great. Thanks, Brian. It's really great to hear how to use the software from all angles and what the value is and how it makes life easier for the grower, the pesticide applicator, the PCA, and the beekeeper themselves. And as everyone stressed, communication is so critical to both the grower getting the value out of their pollination and the beekeepers keeping their bees safe. So hopefully you all have learned something new and valuable during this webinar. One last question, maybe to you, Brian. Is it best to use your email for your username or use something else for your creating your log?
Yeah, it's up to the person, really. I use my email. You know, it just depends on what the person wants. Yeah, I just use my email. That's what I do.
Fewer things to remember. I think we all suffer
Exactly.
too many login IDs. All right.
That's right. And hit the remember me.
I don't see any more questions in the chat, so we're going to go ahead and put up the DPR quiz to get your CEUs. But I want to thank everybody. Again, really, this has been real practical walkthrough of the Beware software, which is probably one of the most important tools to keeping bees safe. And there are so many crops beyond almonds that rely on honeybees for getting our highly yielding commodities here in the state of California. So we all do our part, and again, hope you learned something new today. And I'll put that quiz in the chat, and then I'm going to put up a slide that has a QR code that will allow you to just scan this with your phone and take the quiz. So I will stay on. Here we go. So this is, if you have your cell phone, you can open the camera and hold it up. Sorry, here, something's going on. Hold it up over this QR code, and a link should appear on the top of the screen of your phone. So you're not taking a photo of it. You're just holding the camera up and it'll appear. I've also put a link in the chat that has the quiz, so you can go ahead and take the quiz and it will automatically be sent to the almond board, and we'll register your quiz that way. I will stay on the line in case there's any final questions. And those of you who are taking the quiz, again, hope you'll join us for future Training Tuesdays. As Taylor mentioned, the next Training Tuesday is on March 1st, and we'll cover some of the trade and regulatory aspects. So trying to diversify to include information that's useful to growers and to handlers in the industry. So hope you'll join us on the 1st. If you're more interested in the grower content, the following webinar will be on grower content. So one a month aimed at practical aspects for growers, and then trade and regulatory issues the other time. And with that, I'll let the folks take the quiz. And again, I want to thank all of our speakers today. It was great to have their expertise to help us walk through Beware. It was great to partner with the California State Beekeepers Association on this webinar, and hope we'll see you again on a future Training Tuesday. Thanks again.